This is Mr. Impact Wrestling himself, Moose, and you're listening to the Irish Whip.
Hookers? Hookers and Coke?
Hookers and Coke, man.
You're the only pro wrestler I know that wants to do this shit in the morning.
Yeti, you're a f***ing moron.
Put it this way, I think Sami Callihan might as well just change his name to Invader
I
One.
want to know why. Like, he can dodge any question. Like, I'll tell anyone that. You can tell me but I'm going to ask specific questions.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
WrestlingNewsSource.com. All the rest of you yahoos are out there dilly-dillying, you little wankers. We're actually receiving real wrestling news.
This is
Brett screwed Brett.
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Hold two! Arm bar!
Hey, get a nice shot of the brand new Mr. and Mrs. Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate your hat. I hate your t-shirts. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shoes. I hate your music. I hate the C Nation. I hate everything that you stand for.
Sodas rule.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, what's up, TIW Mafia? It's the Yeti. I'm here with JP and Limitless Wrestling's Randy Carver. The dude at the age of 21 that built the top promotion in New England, barely fucking old enough to drink beer right now. He's had Chris Hero, a.k.a. Cassius Ohno, for you guys that don't know, and Will Ospreay in a main event in just his third show. He went from ring crew, announcer, to promotion owner. Dude, Randy fucking Carver, the new Paulie Dangerously. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. I do have to correct you, though. It was Chris Hero and Jr. at that show.
Okay, so dude, that's why that's why we do this stuff, because I'm always ill-informed. So it was Chris Hero, a.k.a. Cassius Ohno, versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. The reason we fuck shit up, and that's okay. And we just we rely on the internet, and people that control the internet aren't always on top of it.
No, I feel that for sure. I see false shit all the time.
What's the craziest thing you've seen about yourself on one of your promotions?
I don't see a ton about myself, but sometimes there'll be like, if we drop a match announcement, they'll just like, it'll get reposted and it'll totally say the wrong thing or the wrong names on it, which is always comical when the match graphic says something different that they post with it. So that happens often. And then occasionally I get worried. I'll get like, because I always forget that people make like fan accounts of different wrestlers. So
you have fan, just so you know, you have fan accounts. You have fan accounts, just so you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You should. I'll teach you how to get verified, because I've tried to do that, but nobody has actually tried to mimic us yet. So we have a difficult problem doing that.
Yeah.
JP, I know. Let's get into ridiculousness, man. Let's just talk about it. Just do it.
So you were just on. Well, you're not you, but your promotion was just on Ridiculousness for what I think was probably one of the most special moments in pro wrestling.
It was one of the most important moments in Limitless history, I would say, and it's pretty wild. It's the second time this year that Ace Romero's been on Ridiculousness or something crazy. But yeah, we had that clip of the Vacationland Cup from 2018 with the steel cage falling down on Anthony Green and Ace Romero kind of went viral, and all of a sudden Ridiculousness had popped up there, and that was really cool to see. But obviously, like a terrifying moment as it happened, but looking back on it, a lot of people hold it in high regard.
Well, I do, because it shows like pro wrestling is a family. We are just family, no matter what you do or say. And it was just like JP said, it's one of those things that like the fans are like, fuck this show's going on, and we're gonna hold this shit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there were a couple hundred fans at ringside literally holding the cage together, letting that main event happen, which was pretty special.
And that Ridiculousness didn't get that. They got the cage falling and you try to kill Ref Quinn, I think. But they didn't catch. He is getting old, so please don't make him run like that.
No, I'm not trying to endanger Kevin Quinn at all. I love Kevin Quinn, but yeah, he was in the line of fire that night.
So they didn't show the end to that, which I think is the most ridiculous part of it, and that was that the fans got out of their seats and actually held the cage up for you.
And that was they actually did share that on the Botchamania clip that they put in when it was featured on there, which I thought was really cool.
That's now
I got dude, go JP. You and I are gonna fight over questions. That's what's gonna happen.
How do you find out you're gonna be on that Ridiculousness is gonna use a clip from your show? How do you find that out?
So I got a call, and it was kind of funny because I had just previously, like probably 5 minutes before they called, I had got a spam call from a number that was, from some West Coast state, and then all of a sudden I get another one that comes in from California. So I'm always someone who answers my phone, even if I do think it could be a spam call, because I don't know who's calling me ever. So I answered and, kind of shit a brick when they said, "Hey, this is whoever from Ridiculousness. We wanted to get in touch with you about this clip that we have from your promotion. We wanted to just get clearance if we could use it." And then they went into all the details from there. And they had actually had a fan clip that one of our fans, Jason Worthing, had took, and that's the one that went viral on Twitter because we didn't end up posting a clip for a while. So we actually sent them the hard cam footage of that happening, and that's what got featured on the show.
That is pretty damn cool.
It was wild. It was very surprising.
Was Ace Romero both times he was on? Was that both with your promotions?
That was not. The first one was the Big Pounce that was on. It was on Sports Center, Sports Nation, so many pages. That was from ESW in New York, and he was wrestling Anthony Gaines.
For some reason, I thought that was Maine too.
No, I think everyone thought so because Ace Romero is from Maine, but no, it was from the Buffalo, New York region, I believe.
Now, have you seen any, since being on Ridiculousness, has there been any bump in your followers and stuff?
There have been a few people I've seen a couple YouTube comments on some Ace Romero matches that some people had checked in to see more Ace Romero stuff from Ridiculousness, but I don't think a ton of bump from it just because I think unless you knew that it was the Limitless Wrestling logo, because they did kind of try to blur it out in the show, but I don't think we got a huge bump from it. I think it popped a lot of our fan base who did not expect to see that on Ridiculousness because obviously we didn't know when it was airing either. So,
including Anthony Green, who posted on Twitter that he was pretty surprised about it.
Yeah, him and Ace both knew about it, but it's this was kind of one of those deals where they hit us up and they didn't know for sure if it was going to be used on the show when they got in contact with us. They just wanted to get the clearance. And it did end up getting on the show. And then I knew in April that it would be aired, but they had no idea of what episode it was going to be a part of.
That is awesome. That's such a cool piece. That's just a cool piece of New England wrestling history because the fans in New England they're different than anywhere else. I mean, you got guys, I know that for a fact, you got guys that drive up to Maine, a 2-hour drive from Boston for every one of your shows if they can.
Yeah, we've got, it's pretty wild, the fan base that we have built. We've got people who drive, 6 or 7 hours from Canada to come to these shows, Nova Scotia area. There's people who come from the southern New England, New York now. There was a huge New York presence at our last show for Kevin Blackwood's in-ring return. So, just very cool to see the support coming from all areas, and especially for this upcoming show, Know Your Enemy, on September 6th. I think we've sent tickets to every state in New England, and I think 11 states total, which is the most we've ever sent to for one show. So it's pretty amazing.
And that's just your pre-sale.
Yeah, and that's just pre-sale. So who knows? We actually had a team go out today, and we posted the Portland area for about 10 hours just to hopefully get the word out there, because this is, we're taking a major step with venue sizes here that we've never done before. So we really want to try to reach out to anybody and everybody.
I guess, JP, that's the big thing for me, is because you, literally, correct me if I'm wrong, but LaGrange is population 1,000, correct?
Yeah.
Or a little less.
Yeah, it's a pretty small place.
Dude, I came from a small town. Same thing. Growing up, people always judge success not necessarily on accomplishments and what you can do. They look at age and what they think somebody should be able to do based on their age and wisdom and knowledge. I disagree with that 100% because you, man, are a young, wise wrestling owner of a promotion that's rocking New England. How, like, when did I know the senior in high school, the story about saving money, but like literally, when did you decide, like, I'm doing this, like I'm going to do this?
It was just an accumulation of just frustrations with local wrestling when I was very fortunate. I was like 15 and had a local company called IWE. They kind of opened the door for me and let me, start ring announcing and just got my foot in the door of doing anything in the professional wrestling business. So it was just an accumulation of being a couple years in and, seeing how wrestling could be presented. Like I was a big Ring of Honor fan growing up. So I knew that there was good wrestling out there. And then, I'd see companies that come around like a Big Time Wrestling or Chikara every now and then came to Maine, or Beyond Wrestling or CZW or anything of that nature that was in the Northeast where it was being done, professional wrestling was being done differently than it had been in years past and very good. And Maine just wasn't that way. And I really got fed up of what the culture of Maine wrestling was and the type of wrestling that was being presented here. And I wasn't alone in this. Like, there was Ace Romero was on these same shows, and Danger Kid, Aiden Agro, Alexander Lee, and the Mainstay Posse. So it was a group of us who really just were kind of sick of how shit was going, to be honest, and just wanted to kind of do something different, at least take a stab at it. And then it was late 2014, I think in November, is when I finally had some conversations with people and started deciding to get the ball rolling.
And if you can't say, like, when you say you decided to have a conversation, and we dig, dude, when you say you decided to have a conversation with people, can you talk about who those people were and how they influenced you to decide to do this? Or is that something that's fourth wall stuff you want to keep behind?
No, for sure. I mean, it was a lot of the people I just mentioned, like Romero, the Mainstay Posse, Top Shelf Troy Nelson, Xavier Bell, a lot of people who were very important in that first year of Limitless Wrestling, who were kind of the core roster guys as we started to begin, trying to do this. Scott Wilde as well. But I don't know. It was a lot of just figuring out logistics of, how can we do this? Where can we do it? Can we build a fan base on, a type of wrestling that has really never been presented in the state of Maine? So it was a lot of conversations with that, internal crew or roster, I should say. And we really did a lot of the footwork. And then we had like referee Eric Greenleaf, our sound tech, Ethan Scratchfield. Like, there was a lot of us who were, locally just trying to do as much as we could, get as many posters out, spread the word, and just do whatever we could to make this a success, or just at least not fall on our faces.
Now, were you told, I can only assume, because I've watched some of the younger promoters in the Massachusetts area, they told you it'll never work, you're going to lose your shirt, and
oh yeah,
like,
of course.
Were they naysayers to you? And what kept you going? Like, what kept you going? I've never heard. I will say, like, I'm around the New England scene, not as much as I was like 5 or 6 years ago, but I'm around it still. Never heard a negative word said about you.
That's good to hear. No, we just, I don't know. It's always been a constant motivation to just do better, and for us to do better on what we've previously done, and for us to just kind of change the culture, or the perceived notion of what professional wrestling is locally, because there's still like tons of people who are new Limitless fans who come to shows, who I get introduced to at these events, and I get to hear kind of their war stories, I should say, like about Maine wrestling before. And there are just so many shitty promoters around here who would falsely promote events or bait and switch big talent, or just kind of whatever they were doing, the result was the fans getting fucked over. And that's just kind of how it went for a number of years in the state. So it turned a lot of people off, not only to professional wrestling, but especially to independent wrestling. Really anything that wasn't a big name come to town, nobody wanted to take a chance on. So it's been that gradual build of kind of earning people's trust and just trying to keep it going. But I mean, throughout that whole thing, because you get those same shitty promoters and people who were salty about not getting booked are, going online and trashing us, even though what's most important always was the fans enjoying themselves, and really from the start they did. I mean, we did have some tough draws, early on. I mean, we had some shows that we didn't really they didn't break the bank, but we did not make money. I'll put it that way. So we took some hits, especially in year one.
What did you do to adapt to change that, to sort of like evolve from the shows where you weren't drawing to the shows where like you put on some pretty big houses?
Yeah, and it's a lot of just a feeling out process, especially in Orono, like throughout that first year and a half that we were there. Trying to figure out like what's going to work because throughout that first year we weren't really getting a ton out of the Northeast talent. Like we just didn't have the budget to really go for flights or split with promotions on anything like that. We did a few times, obviously the Hero Saber show under fire in January of 2016. We worked with Beyond Wrestling and Evolve Wrestling there, but I didn't really have the know-how either to really book travel at that point. I was very just not versatile in anything that it takes to be a promoter, especially in that first year. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. But we were just trying to really find our identity, and that was the big push throughout year one, was trying to figure out not only our identity but what our fans wanted to see, what that crucial our fan base in Orono wanted to see, and then we had to take the next step from there, and we did in Westbrook in October of 2016, and that's really what changed everything, was that big step to Southern Maine.
Now, did you have any other promoters that sort of took you under their wing? I know that's kind of a cutthroat, but there are some out there that will help someone out that they see trying. Did you have anyone that kind of took you under their wing and said, hey, this is...
Not when we started promoting necessarily, like not when Limitless started. It was very much, I was asking a lot of questions to a lot of the guys on our roster, just trying to figure out what we could do better and how we could tighten shit up. Brian Fury answered a lot of questions for me early on, Anthony Green as well, as we really progressed. But I worked with IWE a lot and had a lot of freedom to kind of see how things ran there when I was very young, and see how it ran for the good and the bad. But being a ring announcer, you do kind of get to see the behind the scenes of how just how many problems can pop up on the day of a show and how you fix it and how you navigate through things going wrong. And that was really the learning experience for me, was like that 2.5, 3 years before I started promoting of ring announcing.
That's us every week.
Yeah. Scrambling 15 minutes before a show, making sure sound works, and it's not working.
Yeah, I know. I understand that totally. And now it's just a ton of shit that you got to make sure before. We have a very good crew now, and our crew's actually grown because we have students from our dojo and brewer who come up and help at shows, and they've got distinguished jobs that they do. But it gets easier as it goes, but it's definitely a hassle to make sure everything's working, everything's going right on the day of the show.
Now, who runs your dojo?
So that is Alexander Lee and Aiden Agro primarily are the head trainers, and Eric Greenleaf works with the referees. We have guest trainers in there as well. Classic Calvin Strange, who is a graduate of the Storm Wrestling Academy. He's there probably once every 2 weeks, and Danger Kid's probably there once a month. But yeah, it's pretty much Aiden Agro, Alexander Lee running the show there.
Okay. I didn't realize you guys had that. I knew you had Limitless, and you have another promotion as well, correct?
Yes. So we've got kind of a sister promotion to Limitless Wrestling and Let's Wrestle, and that runs out of Orono, Maine. So we're actually running that out of the same building that Limitless Wrestling started in.
You should run a bastard promotion in Montana, because we have absolutely nothing out here.
Huh.
Dude, I remember a couple of years ago, Big Time Wrestling came out there, I believe.
Yeah, they did. They did a tour out here. Absolutely.
I other than that, I've never heard a thing about Montana wrestling.
Funny,
because it doesn't exist.
But like, you have history. This historically has been.
If you research anything that has to do with the Hart Foundation or the Stampede, the dungeon actually started in Great Falls, Montana. Like, Stampede Wrestling actually was a Montana thing. I mean, the Hart Boys were born in Montana. Brett loves to come down to Great Falls. It's one of those things that it just they moved to Calgary and all that went away. I mean, I've got family and friends that talk about just hanging out with Stu and experiencing it, and having a Dr. Pepper with little Bret Hart and shit like that. It's little things like that have been lost that I don't want to be lost. And I think the coolest thing for me as a fan, because I'm a mark, dude. I'm just a mark. The only way I can watch what exists in professional wrestling almost all the time is through the lens of a camera. So I'm trusting promoters, workers, production, editing to present that product because I can't see it live. And dude, I'm so impressed with. I don't want to address the age. It pisses me off. But seriously, man, how you're mature, you got a good head on your shoulders, you know what you're doing, and you're surrounding yourself with really good people. Like, talk a little bit about. I mean, you talked about Cassius and Zack Sabre Jr. That match. Just talk a little bit about that event and that arena, to where you guys are going to be here coming up in September, the first weekend in September. Like, that is a huge step, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that event in January of 2016, we had, I think, 260 paid fans, and I was over the moon because that was way more than anything we'd ever done. We were just coming off of maybe 110 people at our previous show in November of 15, so I was over the moon about that. I don't remember a ton about that show, to be honest. I had pneumonia horribly and had to fucking just get it done. So I don't remember a ton about that show other than I remember putting it together and all the logistics of it. And it seemed so crazy because there are so many moving parts to that show. And now we're at the Portland Expo on September 6th, which is a venue that can house 1,800. So that's stepping up from the American Legion Post 84 in Orono that can hold 299 total. So it's a major step up in just a few years. But I think it's a testament to, especially the roster members, everybody who's really become core roster members and a part of the Limitless team, and has really with myself helped push these events and interact with fans and connect with them. And that's what keeps bringing them back. Is I get told all the time we really have such a good and caring roster about the company and the fan base, and creates a really good environment at Limitless shows. So I think that's what keeps people coming back.
I'm gonna play a little one word association with, because you're talking about the talent, and that I think is you're right. The talent that you bring in is fucking solid. So I'm gonna name a few names, and if you can describe these individuals in one name, just one word, if you can. If you can't, that's fine too.
Damn. Well,
I know, dude.
Words on something.
How about AC, baby? How about Ace Romero?
Underrated still, I believe.
Fucking absolutely. What about Anthony Green?
Hard worker. I know that's two words. I'm not great at this game, but hard worker.
We aren't.
Grinder. Let's go with grinder.
Yeah.
He's a grinder.
What about MJF?
Jesus, what do I say about Max? Good at Twitter.
What'd you say?
Good at Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. That's all you say is Twitter, right?
Twitter. Yep.
What about the big man, Josh Briggs? He's the last one.
Impressive. I'll say impressive because I saw Josh. I got to go to a sidebar here. I saw Josh very early on in his career when he was still going by the alias of Mike Honcho. I think it was legitimately his second or third match ever. And he was someone from the time I was introduced to him, at that event, Donovan Dijak and Anthony Green were pushing for him hard to get into Limitless Wrestling. So when he did end up debuting, I think it was April of 2017, he just had constant impressive performances. So he's been impressive from day one.
Cool, man. I know that it's hard, and I don't do it very often, but what I hope to impress is that, dude, I don't. You're it. Like you're going places, and when I told JP, like, dude, we got Randy. We're both like there's not very many. I shouldn't probably say this, but we do a lot of these, right? And we get really excited for a lot of individuals. Like this is one of those times in this year and this time frame where we get to talk to a young, brilliant mind that is willing to not only just lace them up as a promoter, but also be willing to be dressed down at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
How, like you, dude, you're wearing a lot of hats and going from putting the ring up to ring announcing to now being a promoter of, like, literally one of the top promotions in the United States for professional wrestlers to not only get noticed, but be able to be surrounded by fans that are insatiable. Like, talk a little bit about the fan base in Maine and what they're like in relation to other places that you've been.
Fan base is incredible, and I say it all the time. I truly believe that we have the best fan base in the world. We've got the best fans in the world because they're just so pro everything that we do. And one of the coolest things is that, like, I've noticed, especially over the past few years, like, shit happens in independent wrestling, especially today with so many shows. There's a chance for injury all the time for competitors, or a chance for guys to get contracts. And when we have shit pop up, our fans have been the most understanding about, just shit going wrong, or, understanding that things happen. They're just great. And I'm very, very, it's very special to have a group like this who support this product and support all the roster members and really everything that we do. And I can't thank, our fans enough for that.
So we got 2 minutes before we take a quick break. So I want everybody right now that's listening. So September 6th in Portland, Maine, folks, limitlesswrestling.com/tickets. You guys can get your tickets. VIP tickets, correct me if I'm wrong, Randy, it's $35, which includes early entry into the event at 6:30 plus a selection at the front row seating. Like, you get to kind of pick your seat, right?
That's true, but those sold out in 1 minute, so they're not going to be able to get those, unfortunately. We do have floor tickets. There's still 50 floor tickets available for $20 a piece, or there's general admission bleacher seats that are $15.
So I don't think people will understand that Portland Expo it's a huge fucking building. Like, this is where the NBA D-League affiliate Maine Red Claws play. So it's a pretty big venue. That's a testament to, one, not only you and the trust that you put in the workers, but also the workers' trust in you. Man, that's it. How does that feel? I'm very grateful for it because we have a very talented locker room of guys and gals who do, put the trust in me to, have them on shows and just use them consistently. And, we've got a very good core roster who takes consistent bookings from us anytime that we have dates set. And that just helps us because it helps us, really build some cool shit that we can present to our fans and they can enjoy. How about before we got about 30 seconds here, but if somebody wants DVDs, if somebody wants to buy hard copies, if somebody wants to buy T-shirts, all they've really got to do is visit limitlesswrestling.com, and all that information is there, correct? Yes, it's all on the website. We have a merchandise section. You can find literally everything right under there. Cool. So we're going to take a quick, what is this, 120-second break, JP?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, just stick around. We got more with Randy. We'll be right back.
2 and 2.
Yeah.
What's up, TIW Mafia? We're back. JP here, still with Josh, unfortunately, in his Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. Yeah, we still got Randy Carver with us from Limitless and Let's Wrestle. Randy, what's your card look like for Know Your Enemy?
So as of now, we've got 4 announced matches. MJF will defend the Limitless Wrestling World Championship against retrosexual Anthony Green, who's the winner of the 2019 Vacation Land Cup. We've got a hair versus career tag team match. Jeremy Leary and Skyler, collectively known as Sass and Fury, Limitless's power couple. They're going to collide with the Galaxy's greatest alien, Chris Statlander, and the real catch, Ashley Vox. Stipulation being, if Jeremy Leary and Skyler lose, Jeremy Leary, the best hair in professional wrestling, self-proclaimed, mind you, he will get his head shaved if they lose. However, if Chris Statlander and Ashley Vox lose, that's it for Chris Statlander and Limitless Wrestling. She will be gone from Limitless. and Jeremy Leary. He mentioned the rumors are swirling that Chris Statlander is leaving the independent wrestling planet soon, so he wants to quicken that up a little bit in Limitless Wrestling and get her out of here. And that's his goal, and he can do it on September 6th. AR Fox, the highest flyer in the game, one of my favorite independent wrestlers. He's going one-on-one with Christian Casanova, first time ever. And then a wild tag team match, the New Hart Foundation, Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith Jr. colliding with the workhorsemen of J.D. Drake and Anthony Henry. And then we've also announced a ton of other roster members that are going to be appearing on this event. Filthy Tom Lawler, former UFC fighter, will be making his debut. Ace Romero, Harlow O'Hara, the Wild Child Jody Threat coming off a WWE tryout. D.L. Hurst, the Butcher and the Blade of Andy Williams, Kevin Parks, Kevin Blackwood, many more.
Man,
the Butcher and the Blade, like
I was watching them, not realizing that. I don't watch Impact. I haven't seen Pepper Potts in a long time. I was watching Butcher and the Blade, not realizing that was him for a couple of weeks before it clicked.
I can understand that, though, because it's a totally different presentation of what he was doing in Impact. He was Braxton Sutter, I think, in Impact, and just totally different side of Pepper Parks, and it's a really cool reinvention of who he is.
But even like his NWA stuff a couple of years ago, when when they did that title tournament back then, it's completely different. It's so cool. I love it, and that's such a great tag team.
Those tag team is insane.
I'm 6'7", I'm between 6'7" and 6'8", and I'm 400 pounds. Those two walk down the street, I'm fucking crossing.
Yes, absolutely. Andy Williams is a fucking tank.
What's it like? WWE just canceled 5 shows in your area, up and around that area.
Yeah.
What is it like to be able to know that you have the ability to not only capitalize on a huge decision that's one, probably going to maybe or maybe not affect their bottom line. They probably don't care. But for you, I mean, that's got to be a plus, right?
I don't know. I was thinking about that today because someone asked me a similar question. What I usually do every time that they're in town is I print up like 1,000 small handout posters, and I'm there once the show ends with a crew. And we pass them out. And that's actually in the past. We've had numerous times where WWE was running like a week or two ahead of us, like this scenario was set up to be. So I think it actually helped us get the word out in some cases. But on the flip side, I do think that we have a lot of people who we've been able to reach because of this, because it did make like state news. And we had a lot of guys on the social media posts, like just kind of letting everybody know, and not even our guys, like a lot of fans were on there letting people know about our upcoming event. And I do think it got us a lot of traffic because there were so many people posting a poster or the event page or whatever it may be. But I'm also bummed because I was also that kid who, I was, 10 years old when WWE was scheduled to come to town one time. It was going to be my first house show and they canceled. So I get that pain for any WWE fans, but I don't know. I do think it helps us with the traffic, at least online.
I don't give my opinion very much on when we do this shit. I usually just ask questions and respond. But I really think, and this is just my opinion, and I really think that the WWE not doing this it's a huge mistake, one, but it's a huge plus for you because you get to maybe grab a couple, a handful of fans, and they get to come and enjoy, and they're like, wow, this is as good as what we would have seen, but we're up close and we're personal.
Yeah, and I hope so, because I really do think that the Limitless Wrestling experience is unlike any other, but I also know that we are not exactly family friendly. So for some of the families, like I know in the past, like when a WWE, like when we've handed out stuff at WWE shows, I'm sure to let people know if they ask that I call it like a PG-13 rating if we were to have to rate it at all, but there is quite strong language, and I think even stronger language from the crowd sometimes. I mean, Anthony Green won the Vacation Land Cup, the crowd's chanting AG fuck. So I don't know.
That's the best
chant in wrestling
ever. That's the best chant in wrestling ever. It's
a wild chant. I can't believe it's a thing. My mother, who comes to all the shows, she helps out at the merch table. She was blown away that people were chanting AG fucks at a wrestler, and it was not derogatory.
Oh, no. But so when people ask you that, you can always counter with, no, but I have Let's Wrestle that is more family oriented.
Yeah,
Except
Let's Wrestle is a totally different direction, I would say, than Limitless Wrestling. I think Limitless is very just wild and crazy, and Let's Wrestle a little bit more, I don't want to say low key, but it's definitely something that I would suggest, hey, if you've got a 10-year-old kid who likes wrestling, you can bring him to this.
Yeah, just when Antoine climbs the ropes, get the 10-year-old out of the room.
Oh my God, that's insane! I couldn't believe that fucking happened.
We had him on right after that. We were talking about it, and he was like, "Man, Randy Carver was pissed at me." But he was explaining the whole situation.
I was happy he was okay.
He was explaining the whole situation with the ceiling and why he yelled "fuck it." Just forgot to jump out.
Oh yeah, that's what I was pissed off about was the fuck it. Yes, he is correct there. we do go over, hey guys, this is a little more family oriented than Limitless. We are gonna fucking lay off the swears. If anything, let's not hit the hard stuff, And I was a little upset about the fuck it, but no, I was the press onto the post. I was more worried about him because it was a gnarly landing, as everybody saw. And he made the most of it, though. He really, took a bad experience that happened, learned from it, and ran with it. And I'm happy about that.
Now, he's been on. Now, he's got sort of moved, because that was, I think, his first show for you. And he's kind of moved up from Let's Wrestle now, correct?
Yes. So he's one of a few guys who have actually made the leap, from Let's Wrestle to Limitless. And it's almost like, I don't want to say a developmental territory, but it's really like a creative space for, we only have, I would say, 12 to 14 total Limitless events per year, and that's including any festival shows that we do. So we probably do 7 major events per year. So we can't work with everybody on those Limitless Wrestling events as much as I'd like to. So Let's Wrestle really provides us an open place where we can kind of mix up some of the Limitless Wrestling talent who's in the Northeast who are available on the dates that we have, and mix them with a lot of talent who we've yet to be able to work with because the opportunities or the dates just haven't lined up. Anything just gives us more opportunities to work with people, and then because of that, we see a lot more new talent that we'd like to see in Limitless Wrestling. And Antoine was one of the first guys to kind of make that leap.
No, I want to go back to the card a little too. What's it like to be able to book the New Heart Foundation?
Yeah, no shit.
Very cool, because Teddy Hart, I love Teddy Hart. He's so fucking cool. And people give him a bad rap, but Teddy's just been always great by me, and he's been a part of Limitless Wrestling for over 2 years now. And he's the one who set us up in contact with Davey Boy Smith Jr. So being able to work that out, they made their debut in May against the Mainstay Posse, and honestly, I think one of the best tag team matches in Limitless Wrestling history.
So, when you talk about underrated,
like that, what's
like
that?
Main Street. When you talk about underrated, outside of New England, Main Street Posse isn't known for some reason, and they're one of the better tag teams in this area right now.
I agree. I think the Mainstay Posse are rocking it as usual. Danger Kid, Aiden Agro, and we unfortunately saw Alexander Lee cut his ties with the Mainstay Posse last month at the Vacation Land Cup, but they're really, they're trying to make a name for themselves outside of the Northeast this year. They just debuted for Freelance Wrestling in Chicago, and I believe they have Fest Wrestling in Florida this November. So hopefully more promoters take notice, because I think truly one of the best tag teams in the Northeast.
Randy, what's it? You mentioned Vacation Land Cup. What's the difference between booking a regular show as opposed to a tournament type show like Vacation Land Cup? What's the major difference?
So it's a great question, because a lot of shit changes, because usually I am just kind of looking at the matches that are, coming up on a card and putting them together of really what's going to create the best roller coaster for everybody watching this event. But tournament kind of changes that up stylistically, because it doesn't give me the freedom to really pick and choose where I want certain matches. Like if I want, one match on the first half, well, we have to do the 4 opening round matches on the first half of the card. So then the finals, the 4-way elimination match, can be the main event. So that's kind of how that changes the Limitless card stylistically, because it doesn't allow that freedom to move stuff around. So usually you have like how it's gone the past 2 years, where the four opening round matches are in the first half plus one other match, and then it's intermission. And then you come back from intermission, and usually the main event will be that 4-way final.
No, with you growing out of your buildings and, going into an 1,800-seat arena, do you have plans on running shows outside of Maine?
Yeah, I mean, it's always something that's in the back of my head. That's honestly not the main focus, to be perfectly honest. But when opportunity arises for us to do it, or if we had a lead on a venue, anything of that nature, it is something that we're looking into, because we did a joint event with Blitzkrieg Pro in December of last year and actually sold the place out on our first venture really outside of the state of Maine with them in Enfield, Connecticut. So it is something that we definitely want to look into. I'd love to do another event with Blitzkrieg Pro, honestly, but nothing in the works as of yet, but it's always something in the back of our heads.
And now here's a Mark question. Bringing in the New Heart Foundation, when does Flying Brian come in with them?
Well, I think it'll be soon. I don't believe it'll be September 6th, unfortunately, but Brian's someone that we spoke with in the past, and unfortunately, pretty much every time we've had something pop up, whether it was an injury or just a date confliction. So it hasn't worked out yet, but I would say definitely soon. I think you'd see Flying Brian in Limitless.
Because, if the Main Street Posse could get their three together, if they can
all get back on the same page, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Look at JP trying to fucking book a Limitless show.
I'm just trying to get Brian booked up there.
Oh, fuck, man.
I think that'd be, I think that 3-on-3 would be something fucking phenomenal.
It would be nuts for sure.
Have you been able to kind of sit back and enjoy this? At this point, or is it still just the grind and grow? Or is this know your enemy? Is this kind of, it's not really, I mean, it's stressful as shit, but you're experienced, you're professional, you know what you're doing. Is this just another show, or is it one of those shows that says this is one or the other?
No, this is, I mean, it's not that I'm not enjoying it ever, but this is a lot of work, this one, because I feel like we're back at stage one, our first ever show, and we're trying to not fall on our face. And even though it's tough to believe that when we've, sold over 500 tickets for this event, and we've had successful events in the past, but as you continue to, grow and set new goals, you got to smash new ones, you got to keep moving forward, and hoping that we can sell over 1,000 tickets to this upcoming event. That's the goal, truly. And I think we can do that. But right now, until September 6th, that's truly the grind of what we're doing right now within the Limitless team, is just trying to get the word out there about this event, let people know, and get people through the door.
Well, you just said it. You said it earlier. The VIP tickets sold out in a minute. And, there's still tickets available online. There's still, I'm assuming, still floor seats available, just not the front row, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So, guys, if you want to go and you want to be a part of something that is going to be special, and, yeah, it's in a big building, but it's still going to be more intimate than what you would have got out of a WWE show, and you're going to have some great wrestling. I mean, you're going to get to see guys that have been in like Harry Smith's been in the WWE. So, Teddy Hart would have been. You're going to see guys that are on that level. There's no reason not to go to that show if you're in the area. Or if you're, anywhere in New England, really.
7 hours away, like some people travel. I guess I want to ask him, JP, I want to ask him the same question I asked Farmer. And it's a different perspective. Randy, when you look at professional wrestling now as opposed to when it was NWA and territories, is there a farm system developing with pro wrestling where you've got an A, a double A, a triple A, and then you got the big leagues?
I would say so, and I think that's been somewhat developing for years, because you can see there's the true independent level of wrestling where you're not signed to a contract, you're grinding, you're trying to be anywhere possible. And then I think you do have that step up where you've got I'm not disgracing these contracts at all, but you've got that lower tier that's like an MLW or an Evolve Wrestling, where it's not necessarily an exclusive deal, but it is a deal where you're, you have to make their dates. You're, they're your number one priority, and then you've got to step up from there, which is, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and there's multiple steps to this one. Before, you were either getting signed by the WWE or TNA for a while, and that was it. That was all you could get. So things have definitely changed quite a bit, and I think there's a lot more options and opportunities for professional wrestlers and professional wrestling fans to be a part of different shows and see different shows.
No. Well, you're so young. Have you ever had what made you decide I'm going to ring announce and be a promoter rather than I'm going to be a pro wrestler?
I don't know. I was always a pretty big kid, so I didn't really have the, physical ability to cut it as a professional wrestler. But I used to promote backyard wrestling events, so that got my, as wild as it sounds, I got my feet wet in promoting and actually putting together shows, even though it's on such a low level like that. But I loved putting together those shows with my friends, and you think about and dream about from there. Oh, what if I could actually do this with independent wrestlers someday or something of that nature?
Yeah.
So I really started there, but I don't know. It's been pretty crazy.
That's you're doing awesome, and like I said, literally, I know a lot of the New England guys. I've never heard a bad word. Everyone says how smart you are and how you have a mind for wrestling, and you're just so young. It's incredible watching this grow. And to hear your story on, I can't figure out where your mind from wrestling came from. If it came, I know when you're ring announcing, you're kind of an office job. So, did you pick it up there, or do you think it's just something that you kind of had that tunnel vision and you just saw the way wrestling should be?
I don't think that it's tunnel vision. I think it's a lot of learning on the fly, and I tried to get to any shows possible when I was coming up as a ring announcer, whether I was ring announcing or not. If I knew someone who maybe was heading to Massachusetts for a show or something, I'd try to hop in the car if I could. But it's just a lot of keeping your ears and eyes open at shows and just kind of seeing what goes on and seeing, I was lucky to be in main wrestling for the fact that I saw how it's not supposed to be done a lot. You know what I mean? I saw some pretty shitty things happen. But that kind of prepares you for bad scenarios that could potentially happen to you.
Yeah,
that's the thing that
Josh.
keeps coming up every time with individuals that are successful in this profession. And Randy just said it, is when there's an open seat in a car, you jump in and you go. When there's an open seat in a car that's 10 hours away, you jump in a seat and you go, because you don't know what opportunity is going to be afforded you, right?
For sure. Absolutely. And I understand now more than ever with, helping run the school. There's a lot of shit that can pop up in people's lives that is unexpected, and I totally get it. And I understand when people have to step away for a little bit or can't maybe be as dedicated as they'd like to be, but I don't know. I get it, but I don't resonate with it because I feel like pro wrestling's been my life for at least 10 years now. Well, not that long, but in my head, it's been my life for 10 years, and it's actually been something that I've been doing for, I guess, 6 or 7. So it's just something that I don't know. I don't see my life without it anymore. And some people in the business do see their life without it, and I don't know how you do.
The one thing I know, and you kind of touched on this earlier, the things I know about main wrestling is that the couple of promotions I'm aware of are very old school. There's some gimmicky ones, and you're just different.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the thing from day one, is that we didn't want to do the same thing that was going on in the state for a while.
Who's your go-to? If you have a question, if you're at one of those spots where I don't know if I should do this, I don't know if I should I do this, who are your go-tos when you have those questions? We talk about mentors a lot, because in pro wrestling mentors are huge. Is there somebody besides the talent that you work with or is there somebody else right now that you reach out to and ask for advice as far as what you should or shouldn't do?
I don't know about as much anymore. A lot of it I converse with Danger Kid, Aggro, Alexander Lee, Classic, Calvin Strange. We have a 5-person group chat where if something's going haywire or if we have an opportunity with something, that's usually where I try to get either reassurance or get talked off the ledge or anything of that nature. But Ace Romero, I'd say a lot as well. I don't know. It's tough to say because there's a lot of people who just add so much to Limitless Wrestling and help it grow so much. It'd be tough to name everybody because truly everybody who's come through Limitless Wrestling has had their fingerprints on it, had a mark in it some way, somehow.
It's amazing that you pay attention to your group text because our group text I have muted.
Sometimes I miss it. I'm not the best. I'm definitely not the best at Facebook Messenger. I miss a fucking ton of stuff.
How busy are you? Like literally, like how busy are you?
It depends because it comes in waves. It depends on when shows are, and there'll be some like weeks where there's more downtime than others, but it also depends on how big of a crew we have to help at certain times. Like today, I was in Portland. So I've been on the road since 9:30. We've just been postering and trying to get posters out for this show. Obviously, not every day is filled with like postering and shit to do, but there's always stuff to do. Like this is just if you're really into this and you have a promotion or anything that you're involved with and you just want it to continue growing, the work really never stops. So, and I don't know, I don't even consider it work all the time. Like obviously, like the business portion of this does suck sometimes, like majorly, but there's a lot of cool shit involved with wrestling that does not feel like work. So.
Are you able to switch hats, man? Are you able to switch hats from like promoter to businessman to whatever you need to do? Is it pretty hard? Is it pretty easy for you to switch that hat around when you have to?
I don't think it's necessarily easy because I still fuck up a lot, but not as much as I used to. So that's a big plus. But it gets easier and easier. But there's always new stuff that's going to pop up that I either haven't encountered yet or wasn't prepared for or just wasn't expecting. That's the professional wrestling business.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head when you said that you fuck up a lot because the only way that anybody learns
why are you agreeing with him that he fucks up a lot?
Oh, because he's learning, dude. He's learning.
He's part of learning.
You're a fucking asshole.
Randy, I don't think you fuck up a lot.
I appreciate it, but it happens. Sure. A lot of times people don't know about it. It's just me losing my shit for a minute and then fixing it.
And are you a
perfectionist, dude?
I don't know. I do love everything to be perfect, but I've grasped, especially in the past year, that not everything that we do is going to be perfect. So I can't like die on that sword every single time, but we do strive to, obviously do the best that we can all the time. And I think that's a common consensus with not only myself and the crew, but the roster as well.
Now, I have a question I ask everyone from Philly, and I want to revise that for you.
Yeah, okay. Do it.
What's the best place to get I asked them about cheesesteak.
Yeah.
What's the best place in Maine to get lobster?
Well, that's a good question. Doc's Seafood in Portland is awesome. I always recommend the Sea Dog to people as well because they've got a wide variety of not just seafood, but like, I don't know, any food you're looking for, but they've got killer lobster rolls. And I would say Governor's Restaurant as well. People will probably shit on me for that because they do that. They do the cheap lobster roll day and everybody gets fucking wound up when they don't get them. But Governor's has some killer lobster rolls.
I love lobster, and we do. We ask everyone from Philly about the cheesesteak, but to me, Maine lobster is just as important.
Yeah, I would hit up Doc's, or if you're in Central Maine, hit up Doors Lobster and Seafood. I don't know if anybody's going to listen to Central Maine, but if you're in Southern Maine, I like Doc's a lot.
Man, I just want to tell you, Randy, on behalf of us, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, and there's been a lot of interviews that we've done, like Fergal Devitt originally when he came over here, JP and Joe interviewed on his first tour over here. So I wanted to tell JP earlier today, it's like, this is one of those interviews where we can go back and look at it and go, wow, like wow. And man, I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate your drive, and I appreciate that when you were sitting in high school, you decided to scrape every goddamn penny you had and chase a dream, because I wish more kids did it.
Yeah, man. I think more kids need to be pushed towards their dreams, honestly.
Dude,
I think there needs to be more avenues for people to do that, because I don't think, like, if I didn't start ring announcing that early and had a lot of early opportunities with a company, I don't think that, any of this would have happened. It's kind of circumstance that all transpired like that. And if that didn't happen, I don't know how the fuck I'd get into the wrestling business.
How did you get the ring announcer job so young?
So like when we were doing the backyard wrestling events, I'd ring announce in the backyard, because it's just like, it's your friends there. You didn't have to take it too serious. And I didn't have a bad voice for it. So I just didn't really know how to professionally announce, but I've been watching wrestling all my life, so I fucking know how Howard Finkel does it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I was on ring crew for IWE at that time, and I literally saw a conversation with the ring announcer and the promoter, where the ring announcer was saying that he didn't know there was a show the next day and he couldn't make it. And I pussied out in the moment. I didn't fucking ask right then and there, because I didn't know if I had like a nice like suit and dress up for it. Yeah. So I raced home after that event, made sure I had shit, and then I texted the promoter. I'm like, yo, man, you need someone to ring announce tomorrow. I got clothes and I can talk. So he put me on that show, and then I ring announced for them, I think, for 3 years after that.
So
Sidney Bacabella doesn't give a shit what he wears when he ring announces. Why should you?
Oh, well, Sidney Bacabella's on a different level, man. Sidney Bacabella managed the best against like Danny Hodge and Lou Thez, so he's been around for a while. So
yeah, I mean,
Sidney Bacabella's got me beat.
We give Sidney a lot of shit, but that dude is like, he is just insane. Like I could listen to him all day long. Say that again.
Best hair in professional wrestling, in my opinion. Fuck Jeremy Leary.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't talk. I don't know Jeremy. I've seen him. I know who he is. I really think Sidney has the best head of hair out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sidney Bacabella's hair isn't filled with, I don't know, alligator grease or whatever Jeremy Leary's got on his head.
Dude, on behalf of Irish Whip, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
That's